Welcome to The Verdict. Kent Myers here, sitting by myself because Mick Cornett is not here today. In fact, Mick will be gone the next couple of weeks. He's off doing some good for Oklahoma City as the mayor, but he sends his regards, and we both are appreciative of you watching our show every Sunday morning or whenever it is you tune in. Today we're going to be talking about something that gets publicity from time to time, but never enough. It's a look into Oklahoma's Innocence Project. A project that looks at cases that have been resolved, criminal cases where a defendant has been convicted and then evidence comes to light that perhaps the conviction was erroneous for whatever reason. And we've done a show on this before a couple of years ago, and back when Oklahoma Innocence Project was first on the drawing boards in Oklahoma. Well, now it has come to fruition. It is in Oklahoma, up and running, in good hands, and we're going to be visiting with the executive director of the Oklahoma Innocence Project, Emeritus Dean Larry Hellman of Oklahoma City University, who's been on the show with us a couple of times before. I think you're going to find it really interesting. It's going to be something that we'll be dealing with for the near term and the long term until the criminal justice system can be remedied in ways that it does a better job of preventing wrongful convictions. So thanks for tuning in today. I think you'll enjoy our show. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. You're watching The Verdict.
Well, prices at the pump are hitting new highs this week. In other news,
gasoline is expected to top $4 a gallon this week.
expect drivers seeing sticker shock at the pump.
OPEC has raised the price of oil again, and Wall Street worries.
Well, a full tank of gas is going to set drivers back.
Straight ahead, the latest news on
If you need big accounting firm expertise but aren't happy with the value or level of partner engagement from your current national firm, contact Hogan Taylor. Hogan Taylor provides national-level public accounting expertise with high-touch, local partner service in all areas of tax, audit, business valuation, and litigation support. Contact us at hogantaylor.com/The Verdict. Hogan Taylor, big enough to know, small enough to care.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers flying by myself today, but I bring you regards from Mick Cornett, as I said in the opening segment. We're really pleased today to welcome back to The Verdict a fellow who's been on our show a couple of times before, Larry Hellman. Larry is the Emeritus Dean at the Oklahoma City University School of Law and the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Innocence Project. Larry did his undergraduate work at Washington and Lee University, did his MBA and his law work at Northwestern University in Chicago. After law school, Larry practiced with the Department of Justice Antitrust Division, a division of the Antitrust Department that is near and dear to my heart. He worked there a number of years, and in 1977, believe it or not, yes, really, 1977, he came to Oklahoma City University to join the faculty. And he has been at Oklahoma City University ever since. The last 13 years or so, he has served as dean and only recently retired as dean and became dean emeritus. We're really pleased to have Larry here, who's going to talk to us about his work as executive director of the Innocence Project. Larry, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. You're my boss. I teach at Oklahoma City University, and the dean has always been a very kind boss.
Well, it was a great day for OCE when you agreed to come over and teach our students.
Well, I'll tell you, I get more out of it than they do, I know. Tell our viewers, if you will, about your recent change in position.
I stepped down as dean July 1st, 2011, and then I had a sabbatical year where my wife and I, Gay, had a really magical year. Being freed of the duty to be at OCU, I actually had a chance to teach courses on 4 different continents, South America, Europe, London, China, did a speaking engagement in Canada. And it was a great way to make a transition to coming back to the law school as a member of the faculty. So I'm not really retired, I'm just have some different responsibilities. I'm back in the classroom again, which is a joy, and able to really devote my attention to these projects that I started as dean, primarily the Innocence Project and our relationships with law schools in China.
Really? You're, if not the #1 expert, you're one of 2 or 3 in Oklahoma on legal ethics and in the legal profession. And I know you teach that at the Oklahoma City University Law School. Is that what you taught during your sabbatical, at least in part?
They were comparative legal ethics courses, yes. Mm-hmm. I learned, just like you said, the teacher gets a lot out of it, and I learned a lot doing a comparative course on legal ethics in Argentina compared to the United States. In France, I taught a 1-week course for master students from all over Europe, and did a comparison of the regulation of lawyers that comes from the European Union governmental structure, the French structure, and the American structure. And then, interestingly enough, in China, they wanted to learn about the American regulation of lawyers, the way we do it in the United States. And they were very, very bright and motivated students.
Well, actually, that's a topic that I wish we could spend more time on, and in fact, I will right now invite you to come back on another
Terrific.
time, and let's talk about that,
Okay.
because I can just see how that could really develop into a very interesting show. But let's go back to kind of our root. Well, before we get to the Innocence Project, one more diversion.
Okay.
You're now working for a new dean.
I am.
Tell us about that, and then tell us about all her secrets.
Well, I couldn't be more delighted to have Valerie Couch as my dean and as the law school's dean. Valerie and I have been friends for a long time, so I hope she'll go easy on me as my boss. But she shares my passion for the Innocence Project, for our international programming and so forth, and she's asked me to continue to work in those areas to expand what the law school has to offer to our students and to the community. She's got her hands full because, as many of your viewers will know, the university very recently bought the old Central High School building down on 800 North Harvey, and she is in the process of leading the project to convert that back into an educational facility, this time for a law school, and it's going to be a magnificent building and a real focus for the growth of downtown Oklahoma City. And it's great. This is something I hope to get done when I was dean. I'm glad to see it happening under Val's watch.
Well, it is happening, and that will result in a move to downtown Oklahoma City into that building.
Yes.
By faculty, staff, approximately how many people, probably?
Oh, gosh,
Students plus faculty?
maybe between 600 and 700 people will be in downtown Oklahoma City.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis, and we won't be that far from home, from the campus. We'll still be participating in campus life and university governance, but we'll be much more connected to the business community and the legal community. And I know that our president, Robert Henry, wants this facility to be sort of an outpost for the university as a whole, to connect with the city.
Well, every time we have someone from Oklahoma City University on, the Mick insists on calling it Oklahoma City's university.
Absolutely.
Because he feels very strong about the tie. One thing, kind of a minor thing that's not important to too many, but was interesting to me, I guess this will allow you now to put the law library in the same location as the classrooms.
Yes.
Which has not been the case in the past.
Right. I mean, it's not totally unusual for a law school to be operating under out of more than one buildings, but we're spread among 4 buildings right now, and including our Innocence Clinic, which is in a standalone building, a very nice facility. But the new Central High School site for the law school will allow us to bring all of the operations under one roof: the classroom, the library, faculty offices, administrative offices, student organizations, and our clinical programs. And that's going to be a big bonus for us.
That's terrific. In the minute or so we have left in this segment, let's start into the Innocence Project.
Okay.
That's really why we're
Sure.
here. Tell us about the development of the Innocence Project in Oklahoma, and more specifically at OCU. And if we get to where we have to take a break, excuse me in advance for interrupting you.
Fair enough. Well, as you remember, you were kind enough to invite me and John Coyle to come on your program to talk about our hopes that we might be able to establish an Innocence Project at Oklahoma City University. Oklahoma was one of the very few states that, as of 2009, did not already have a program dedicated to investigating cases of possible wrongful conviction and to remedy those when they were discovered. And shortly after we were on your program, I had invited the author John Grisham to come and speak about his experience as a national and international observer of the legal system with wrongful convictions. And he came to OCU, he spoke, we had 1,800 people there, and it really galvanized the public's attention to the fact that while it's not an everyday occurrence, it happens more than we would like, that a totally innocent person gets convicted of a crime that someone else committed, and while the innocent person is in jail, that the true perpetrator is still out and in too many cases still doing more crime.
Yeah. Well, you got this thing up and running pretty quickly, did you not? Generally speaking, if you look at efforts across the country.
Well, we feel very good about the response of the city and the community. I want your viewers to know that this is not an inexpensive proposition. And
can I now be rude and interrupt you and say, keep that inexpensive thought in mind, not inexpensive thought in mind, and we're going to jump to a verdict. We're visiting with Larry Hellman, the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Innocence Project. You're watching The Verdict. We'll be right back.
Sure.
My great-great-grandfather, Cyrus Harris, came to Oklahoma Territory, Trail of Tears, and he served as the first governor of the Chickasaw Nation. I'm Harris Penner, and I own and operate Penner Ranch in Mill Creek, Oklahoma, and I'm Chickasaw. As far as the ranch and Cyrus Harris, my daughters will be the 5th generation on that land. They're the backbone, like the Chickasaw women have always been. They're the backbone of the place. It's been in the family all of my life, all of my grandfathers. My grandfather and my dad were both born on houses on that place. Today, the ranch is a cow-calf operation. The land, it means everything to us. We would never get rid of it. That's our roots, our heritage. It's right there. As far as Chickasaw heritage, I'm proud to be a Chickasaw. Proud to be an Oklahoman.
Hear that? It's the sound of an industry, 83,000 strong, creating jobs for nearly 350,000. A $52 billion a year being pumped into our economy. It's the sound of Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry, our heart for the state, and our people. And it beats on and on and on.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers visiting with Dean Emeritus Larry Hellman of the Oklahoma City University School of Law and the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Innocence Project. And I rudely interrupted Larry to get to our commercial break a minute ago, and he was about to tell us what kind of difficulties are present in establishing an Innocence Project and a clinic in connection therewith. So please go ahead.
Well, the number one obstacle is fundraising, and I can't say enough about how warm and enthusiastic the response of the Oklahoma statewide community has been to our efforts to raise the funds necessary to put this in place.
Yeah, let me emphasize that right now, and pardon me for interrupting, but this is a statewide project. This isn't an Oklahoma City project.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
now please go ahead.
And we had to put funding in place through private sources because our tuition dollars are already committed to the program we had to begin with. And so we needed to raise sufficient funds to not only start the program but sustain it for a period of years so that we would know that it wouldn't just be here in a fly-by-night operation.
Not a one-year venture.
Right, and that was very important to recruiting the excellent legal director that we were successful in attracting, Tiffany Murphy, and I'll say a word about her
please
later.
But, okay.
But I do want to say that we've had hundreds of donors to this program. We've had some high-profile events for the community fundraisers. We think that the annual Night for the Innocent Gala that we have is now on the OCU calendar is one of those every year must-attend events like the Heart Ball and Red Tie Ball and so forth because it's such an important project. And most of the donors have not been from the legal community. Of course, many lawyers and members of the legal community have stepped up, but one of our lead gifts was from Chesapeake Energy. We've had donors from all over the state, as I've said, and this is so important. We wouldn't be here without that.
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit more in my final segment about donations to the Innocence Project and how to do that. But let's change the focus just a minute and talk about the principal areas of activity within the clinic. You have two major areas.
Well, we have the Oklahoma Innocence Project at Oklahoma City University School of Law. That's the umbrella organization. And under that we have the clinic, the Oklahoma Innocence Clinic, and then we have the policy side of our operations.
Okay.
Now the clinic, to be clear, is a law office, and it is staffed by a legal director who is a member of our faculty that we were able to hire thanks to the fundraising success. And she also now has a clinic fellow, a recent graduate, who was a student in the clinic who we're able to keep on as a staff lawyer. There's only one other paid employee in our operation, our legal assistant.
So you got two lawyers and a legal assistant.
That's it. And then we have students. And the students enroll in the clinic for academic credit. It's part of our educational program, our academic curriculum. And so that has to be first and foremost in our considerations of our operations because we are a law school and we want to provide very good learning experiences for our students. And I've got to tell you, now that we've been in operation for a year and a half or 3 semesters, every student I've talked to has said it's the most indelible academic experience of their, not just their legal education, but their education to date.
Can a student enroll in the clinic for more than 1 semester?
We do have the possibility of going on to an advanced second semester. And there are only so many students that one legal director can supervise, but we do have students who have done that. And, but before you can enroll in the clinic, you must take a prerequisite course, which we call wrongful convictions, where students study past exonerations of cases that have fixed wrongful convictions. And they have to take that course to apply to be in the clinic, and you have to be selected by the legal director to be able to enroll in the clinic.
Approximately how many cases in Oklahoma within the last decade, we'll say, have resulted in exoneration?
Oklahoma has had about 15 exonerations, uncontested or undisputed.
Yes.
We aren't talking about cases where someone had a conviction reversed because of a legal mistake or
Right.
technicality. These are people who, for whom all legal responsibility has been, for the crime that they were convicted of, has been dismissed.
They simply weren't guilty.
They simply weren't guilty. And that's since 1989, about 15 cases. 10 of those were exonerations that were achieved through the use of DNA technology. The most recent one of those just happened in September of 2011. But the others, there were other methods for demonstrating the innocence of the wrongfully convicted person.
Eyewitness testimony faulty, something like that?
Yeah, recanted testimony, new evidence that was found, and there tends to be a typical MO, if you will, to the causes of wrongful convictions.
How does this law office that we call a clinic get its clients? How
Okay.
do you find the cases where you suspect there's been a wrongful conviction?
Well, as you know, as an attorney, we don't go out looking for clients, they come and find us. And so
Yes.
we receive requests for assistance.
You must receive more requests than you can possibly handle.
By far.
How do you winnow them down?
Okay. We've had over 700 requests for assistance, and they come from the inmates themselves.
Yes.
Sometimes a family member will contact us, and we will say we have to hear from the inmate. And
Yeah,
that's
your
just,
client is the inmate.
absolutely.
All right.
And we don't just accept their case automatically. We couldn't take 700 cases.
Okay.
But what we do when we receive requests for assistance is we send them back a 25-page detailed questionnaire for them to tell us everything about their case and why they think it went wrong,
Yeah.
who the attorney was, what evidence do they believe was not followed up on, who were witnesses that should have testified that didn't, who the counsel was, and so forth. And that's the first thing that the legal director and the students do, is review those questionnaires to look for red flags, for some of those common indicators that something doesn't look right.
Well, let me ask you this. Once you get through your winnowing process, how many cases would you have ongoing at a time? We just got about a minute left in the show.
Well, just so your viewers can appreciate the funnel that happens, out of the 700 cases, more than half of those have been closed. They've been found without merit. Sometimes the questionnaire doesn't come back. And so that's that. We've found so far 57 cases that appear to have credible claims of innocence, which is a little less than 10%. And of those 57 cases, we are actively pursuing 12.
Is that a kind of a standard number you'd like to maintain?
That's a heavy caseload for a program of our size.
Just in a couple of seconds we have left, how many students in a given semester would be involved as clinic
It
students?
would be 6 to 10, Ken.
Okay. We are out of time.
Oh.
Larry, I want to right now ask you back, as I did in the first segment, only we'll cover 2 topics. We'll cover your teaching, and then we'll also cover more on the Innocence Project on a future show.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having
We
me.
need to take a break now. You're watching The Verdict. We've been dealing with the Innocence Project and visiting with Larry Hellman. We'll see you in a minute.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
You have children come from a different lifestyle, different mindset. You have to open your arms and really do what you have to do to have that child become a part of your family. And if it's more patience, that's what you do. Kids gotta know they can trust you. And that's what we've tried to do with these kids.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back. Kent Myers closing up this show about the Innocence Project in Oklahoma, and we give our thanks to Dean Larry Hellman for joining us and talking about his very, very worthwhile project. And in that connection, let me give you their website information and ask you and spend a little bit more time on it than I normally do. The website is law.okcu.edu, and then when you get to that, you can use the drop-down menu to donate to the Innocence Project and to restrict your donation to the Innocence Project, and they badly need your funds. So let us encourage you to do that if you're so inclined. It's a good, very, very good cause. Also look at our website, theverdict.tv. We pay attention to what you tell us and try to give you shows that you want. So thanks for watching today. We will see you next week.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.
Why? Let me ask you a question.